What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. You know, the preseason is always one of the craziest times to play League of Legends because of course it is when Riot starts rolling out massive changes that players are going to need time to adjust to before the competitive season finally gets started. And since there's a huge variety of things to come, I wanted to throw together a top 10 of the things that I am most excited to see come in the preseason of Season 7, since there's going to have a massive impact on just the game in general, and it's pretty much going to define everything about how the community feels about the state of the game. And if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely hit that like button, and let's begin. So first up at number 10 is actually going to be a new skin that I'm pretty excited about. It's the new Ultimate skin, as you'd probably expect for it to make into a top 10 like this, called Elementalist Lux. We don't exactly have any sort of art assets of the skin yet, but it was leaked on the PBE shop at a price of 3,250 RP, so it's definitely going to be a pretty big deal coming in the future. Ultimate skins are a great step up from the amazing legendary skins, and it's been quite a while since the last one, and they always come with some pretty cool bonuses in client, like, you know, special summoner icons and a profile banner and stuff like that. And there's only 3 ultimate skins so far, you know, Spirit Guard Udyr, DJ Sona, and the somewhat outdated Pulsefire Ezreal, and they all feature changes that are on just another level when compared to even the 1820 legendary skins. They always have really slick voiceovers, particle effects, and so far they also have interchangeable forms or animations that kind of adapt as the game goes on as well. And I'm definitely super hyped to see what Riot actually comes up with for this Lux skin. But the name Elementalist implies that she won't necessarily just be throwing balls of light at people. She'll probably be using all of the elemental forces of fire, water, earth, and air combined with her light powers. At number 9, it's the updated or improved Masteries. You know, Masteries have been around since the early days of League, and although they've been changed quite a lot of times, pretty much every season almost, they actually haven't really been all that game-changing until Riot finally released the new Keystone system, which actually had a lot of impact and encouraged players to try out new builds, you know, take advantage of those Keystones as well. And Riot's goal with the system was to make every player and champion feel like there were Masteries to choose that appealed to whatever playstyle they enjoyed playing, which meant offering multiple choices. And since Riot wasn't exactly 100% sure about what to put in each tree, they ended up releasing the new Keystone Mastery trees with a couple of blank spots, and in preseason 2017 they're actually going to try and fill those holes and give even more options to players, as well as making tweaks to existing masteries as well. And it seems like they're really pleased with how the Keystone Mastery system is working since the update last year, but there's still a few kind of suboptimal choices that Riot are going to try and improve by either rebalancing them or maybe changing them to be more specific for certain playstyles. The end goal is really just to get players getting to choose exactly what they want or what they need, rather than kind of picking what was the least awful compared to the other things that they could choose from in the Masteries. Okay, next up at number 8, we have the revamp to support items, and they've always been a little bit underwhelming. You know, there's honestly kind of a lot of choice, especially after the updates over the last couple of seasons, but the thing is, with support builds, most of the time you aren't ever really changing away from one build pattern because a lot of the items just aren't that great. You know, the biggest problem here is of course the anti-mage support item, Aegis of the Legion. Aegis gives you a magic resist aura to your whole team, and although it's kind of difficult to notice the impact that it can have, it's honestly just crazy strong and really hard to win without against teams with a lot of magic damage. But the item was just way too overpowering as far as build paths go, so they're actually going to remove the aura from Aegis and introduce more additional protective options that give totally different elements that will appeal to completely different champions. There's going to be more than one item that will help you protect your allies, whether you heal them up, make them tankier, or whatever. So the new protective items are going to focus on giving supports ways to protect their team that actually make a lot more sense for their playstyle, rather than kind of just being a lame old stat stick of just this huge aura. It's going to mean more active effects for the most part, but that's also kind of an interesting thing for supports because more mechanics usually means more fun and more playmaking potential. Coming out at number 7 is definitely going to be the visual and gameplay updates, the full reworks that are coming to Champions in Season 7, which have been some of the most well-received reworks so far and really goes to show Riot's dedication to keeping the game kind of fresh and modern. Season 7 has 2 definite visual updates lined up for sure: Warwick, who is now currently being worked on the team that created the new Rise, and Galio, who's also being handled by the other team who reworked Yorick. There's also possible reworks coming to Urgot and Evelynn as well later on on in the second half of the year. So the aim of the Warwick rework is going to take him from a jungler focus that can't entirely gank until level 6 and turn him into like a vicious early ganking monster, while also making him still fairly low complexity so that beginners can use him to learn the jungle and feel the impact that they can have. He'll also have a little bit more depth to his gameplay and actually also be able to affect the game before level 6 now, while also delivering a lot better on the werewolf archetype in general. For Galio, he's due for a massive transformation, but he'll be keeping the whole mage tank sort of concept as his foundation. The big focus on him is going to be him being like this big solid kind of magical construct sort of character, and he's definitely still going to have a hard-on for Demacia. And as I mentioned, there's also probably reworks to Urgot and Evelyn coming in the second half of the year, but those are a little bit too far out for us to be concerned about talking about them in this video. Next up at number 6 is something that we don't entirely have a ton of information about, but it's definitely one of the best parts about the game, and that is, of course, new champions. Everything's been kept pretty much under wraps in terms of details about the upcoming champions in the future, but what we do know is that Riot are getting seriously experimental and are likely going to be unleashing some seriously cool new mechanics and just really crazy stuff in general with the new upcoming champions in Season 7. A kind of policy with Riot is that they try to not necessarily mention anything on the forums unless they are sure it will make it into the game eventually, which kind of gives us two approaches to what the new champions could be like. Either they're going to use some of the sweet canceled mechanics that we speculated about in the past, or they're just going to have worked on in complete secret and are going to be totally new to everyone. Whichever way it goes though, it's going to mean some really fun stuff is coming in Season 7, so we're definitely looking forward to seeing what Riot comes up with and playing the new champions. And breaking into the top 5 of our list, we have the Assassin rework update itself. So PvE players have had a lot of time to play around with the changes to champions, the items, and all the mechanics that the Assassin update is going to introduce. Before they announced the reworks, I wasn't entirely sure if it would work out, but they are looking to be pretty damn fun to play and quite balanced overall as well. The Assassins themselves have had varying amounts of changes to them overall, but the focus of the update was definitely to make sure that they all felt like they had their own specific playstyle that is quite distinct from the other Assassins, while also making them a little bit more healthier to play against by giving people more opportunities to counterplay them. And with that in mind, whether you actually like what they did with each Assassin or not, they are honestly pretty successful reworks in that sense, since they are all honestly a lot healthier, probably going to be less frustrating to play against, and probably require a little bit more strategy going into a fight when playing against them. And as far as accomplishing the goals that Riot set out to make with the Assassin reworks, I think they definitely turned out to be pretty damn awesome. And the new lethality stat as well that will be replacing armor penetration really seems like it was a pretty well thought out update that will define items as being, for Assassins specifically, while also not necessarily being overpowered or really snowball-y like armor penetration used to be. And at number 4, we're definitely starting to get into some of the really exciting news if we weren't already, and number 4 is going to be the ranked changes. So the community in Season 6 was pretty split up when it comes to the introduction of Dynamic Queue. The main problem is that a lot of players are happy with Dynamic Queue, but a lot of players also wanted the old ranked queue back instead, so it kind of split the community in half really, since it didn't really give people any choice and just forced them all into the same system. Different players wanted different things out of the ranked system, and Riot has finally realized that the only way to keep everyone happy is to just give people the choice. So with that in mind, they're releasing solo duo queue again, just like it existed before the dynamic queue update. And the new solo duo queue is also going to feature the position selector so that you can pick from your 2 roles to play, and if the queue is struggling to create games, autofill might be enabled, but if you're playing during autofill hours or if you just select fill, you'll also now be able to veto a role so that you have the option to not get that role for sure. A change that's definitely going to make a lot of players happy. For the players that did enjoy dynamic queue though, they're going to have the same system available, only now it's called flex queue, where you can queue up with any number of pre-mades. And you'll also be able to play as a 5-man in this queue type, so ranked 5s is naturally going to be merged into flex queue, meaning it's always available and not limited to certain hours like Riot were doing before. And overall, these updates definitely fix pretty much all of the problems that people had with the ranked system so far, at least the major ones, and I'm definitely excited to see how it plays out. Number 3 is something we've talked a lot about recently, and it's something that I'm definitely super excited for, and I'll be a little bit honest here, it's something that probably benefits me a little bit more than you guys just because I get to make videos about it, and that of course is the Sandbox Mode for League of Legends. Riot have figured out how to turn their own internal testing sandbox into sort of like a practice mode for League of Legends where you can do pretty much anything you could think of. Change your level, have 0 cooldowns, buy whatever items you want, you know, all sorts of stuff. It's going to give players the chance to practice different mechanics and build to their heart's desire outside of actually playing the game, which is really going to improve the quality of practice for a lot of players, and it might end up making competitive players even better since it gives pros a great way to hone their mechanics to that perfection level. Whether or not you're going to use it is totally up to you, but you'll be able to find it in the new client during the preseason most likely, and it has the potential to really improve your gameplay if you decide to spend some time on it, and I know for a fact I'm definitely going to be making tons of videos with this. Second place, taking home the silver medal, is going to go to replays, probably one of the most requested features in the history of League of Legends. You know, there have been a lot of third-party tools that can be used to save replays, but they have problems, you know, between patches and having to be constantly updated to be useful. It ends up being a massive hassle, really, and I can definitely speak from experience on that one. You know, Riot are going to have their own replay server so that you can just grab replays from your match history, so whether you want them to review your gameplay or just record some awesome gameplay moments, or like me, if you're trying to make some videos, they're going to be available for download really easily and without worrying about them not working between patches or having to download third-party software. Something I honestly really like about Riot is that they've really started to listen to the community a lot more and put some time into working on features that the players really valued, and it was honestly only a year ago that Riot said that they weren't prioritizing replays, that they weren't going to make a sandbox mode, and now they have those systems ready to go. So Season 7 honestly is looking so awesome. It's going to be just amazing, and I'm super excited to see how all of the changes on this list play out in the future. And in the number 1 spot, taking home that gold medal, it's going to be the new client. Something we've begged Riot for so long to get rid of the Adobe Air client, and finally the new client update's going to be going out into the open beta during the preseason of Season 7. It's going to have tons of new features that the old client couldn't do, and as well, the creation of the new client actually enables a lot of the other changes that are on this list, like the sandbox mode, replays. All of those things actually wouldn't have ever been possible without implementing a new client in the first place. And on top of that, it's just going to have some nice awesome features, you know, more control over your friends list, dragging and dropping rune pages. It's going to be way more modern and just have a cleaner appearance to help you get around, and hopefully it's going to be a lot less buggy especially. The new client will also give you access to practice mode and replays through your match history, so these changes are kind of just wrapped up inside of this one, making it definitely the king of our list, and definitely the change that's coming in Season 7 that's going to affect the most amount of players. Only some players will use replays and only some players will use the practice mode, but everyone that plays League is going to get an awesome benefit from this new client. We'll have to see how buggy it is by the time it launches in preseason compared to the existing client, but overall things are definitely looking super awesome, and it's going to be a huge success for sure. Either way, that's just about going to wrap up our top 10 for today. Hopefully you guys agreed with our list and shared our excitement as to what's going to come in Season 7. It really seems like Riot are finally delivering on just a ton of features that we've been wanting, all of us have been wanting for such a long time. And Season 7, man, it's going to be potentially the best season in League of Legends ever. Either way, looks like that's going to be it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.